everyone out there. Good morning, or wherever you are. I'm Jason Schwartz, your host of The Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. Also on Akaku, also on YouTube, also at MauiNeutralZone.com, wherever your media is served. I have a really special guest today. Today is, in fact, January 18th, 2021, Martin Luther King Day 2021. And I have someone that is here and couldn't have a better guest. I have Ed Fell here with us today.
Oh, you're so flattering.
Well, that's the truth. Hi, Ed. How are you? If I was going to introduce you, I don't want to spend too much time doing it, but you have a span of history. How would you introduce yourself? I'll let you introduce yourself.
That's a good question. I'm not so much interested in portraying to people what I've done or what my resume is or how many degrees I have, or what's most important that I'd want someone to know about me is that I am and always have been a seeker. What's around the next bend that I want to learn or experience? What I want you to know about me is not all the time, but sometimes I have so much compassion in me, it feels like my heart's going to bust wide open.
So if I was going to introduce, I have Ed Fell with me. He is someone with lots of compassion and a ton of background doing all kinds of things that he hasn't yet told you. But Ed is a compassionate and loving man who I brought to this because I had an experience, I don't know, is it a decade? Maybe a decade ago, where a friend of mine died, a doctor, yeah. Dr. Julie Holmes died. And Ariel and I went up, and there I met Ed in a house up there in Kula. And immediately I could just tell you were a compassionate and loving guy. And over the years, I've heard your name mentioned in so many different kinds of circles, but it's always been around people that were searching to get in touch with their true and loving heart. Mm-hmm. And you have a website, right? A Path to Mastery. Is that the website address?
Edfell.com. Edfell.com, Path to Mastery. And the mastery part is about radically accepting all that we are, even the dark parts, even the parts that we reject and don't like. I want to turn them and my students on that those dark parts can become our superpower. How to use that energy from those shadows into changing the world, changing ourselves and changing the world. So we're not in battle against ourselves internally. I'm good, I'm bad, I'm right, I'm wrong. All those paradoxes that live in us. I want to celebrate even the dark, not dwell in it, not act out in it, but the energy of all there is in our being. Does that make sense?
Yeah, my partner Ariel always says, there is no good or bad. It is all. If you can accept that all is right and all is God and all parts of you are real, that's kind of what you're saying too. It's like, why should we judge ourselves and shun ourselves and feel like we're less than when we can learn to understand and accept who and what we are?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to turn the table on you, Jason. Who and what are you?
I'm an old hippie. No. What I am is I'm a man who came to Maui who was in the renewable energy business. And I guess you want to say I touched into the new age, and with my ex-wife was studying to be a doctor of acupuncture and herbs. And I was aware of things, but when I came to Maui, I saw a beautiful place that still had the chance and potential. So I decided I was going to bring renewable energy here. It wasn't really ahead of its time. It was at the right time. And people were too fat and happy here. So I stayed trying to promote renewable things and got into politics and became green and stayed here.
Mm-hmm.
And I formed this thing called MAMA, Maui Arts and Music Association.
And Papa.
And Papa, people aligned in positive action are the foundation for dreams to happen. Mm-hmm. And I have been on this path for, well, now 30, this is 30 years. And I think it's the right time. So that's who I am. I'm this guy that's just, I live on my visions of what can be, and then I try to walk in those dreams.
Yeah.
That's who I am.
I know you're not one of my clients, but I want to ask you. So what you told me is what your vision is and what you did, but that's not who you are, is it? You're somebody who created those visions about renewable energy. Who were you? Who was the original Jason Schwartz?
Who was I?
Yeah, no, who is that original man?
A sensitive and loving and caring and in service guy.
Boom. I love it.
That's who I am. I find myself helping because it feels right. No one had to sort of say, well, you know, it really is better when you help people. I find that it feels natural.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm in a group that you know very well, the Mankind Project. And I got involved because Joseph Cohn, Dr. Joseph, I was visiting his wife, Arlene, and we were talking about the dreams of the Dreammakers Foundation, Maui Arts, and on what we wanted. And Joseph walked in and said, you should come to Mankind Project and meet the men. And what I found is men that are interested in working on being their full and authentic selves. There are some great people. And I've interviewed, it's amazing, I have maybe a half a dozen of the people for my shows here, because there are great people. Everyone out there, if they've never checked into MKP, Mankind Project, I'm sure you could put it in a nutshell. You've been doing this a long time, haven't you, with Mankind? Or are you
I like Mankind Project in 1991, October 1991. Wow. So I'm in my 30th year.
See?
And it was, besides the birth of my daughter, it was the most important thing I've ever been through.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And I continue to be on that journey. I went through and became a certified leader and a certified leader trainer. And then I sat on the board for the International Mankind Project. So I've been very involved, and now I'm just mentoring men and love just being on weekends and being of service and eldering and mentoring. So that's my juice now, but I'm still highly involved, but not like the leader anymore.
Well, you know, but you're part of the Mankind and the people that were forming this thing to say, look, we are the shoulders that our children and grandchildren are going to be standing on, and who and what and how we look at who we are.
Yeah.
That matches up with the way I feel. I really was happy. And then I met a guy named Harry Newman, and he was involved too. And I didn't even know that. And then someone later introduced it to me, and Joseph. And I said, I think that's that thing I heard about. It was a great experience. So, but you yourself have work. I want to say that when we were trying to figure out what subject are we going to talk about today.
Yeah.
You're very full of choices. You got all kinds of choices. Which ones jump at you as we're sitting here?
The big one right now is, you know, I just came off of my class this morning of doing shadow integration class. And the biggest thing is about shadow. And what occurred to me is that if I can go on a little 3-minute tirade, is that okay, Jason, about how I come to believe what I believe in the shadow?
Of course.
You know, from my understanding, for the first 7 years of our life, we are not learning by our conscious mind. We're learning by our subconscious mind. And our subconscious, well, not even mind, so our subconscious is infinitely more intelligent and wise than we ever knew. Like an infant or a toddler doesn't need to go to school to learn English from the cognitive mind and learn verbs and nouns and adverbs and how structure form. It's automatically imprinted by the subconscious, who begins to understand how the world works. Unfortunately, the subconscious also takes in all the negative messages of who I don't want to be. I don't want to be angry. If I'm angry, mommy gets mad at me. So I'm going to push anger and put it into shadow. So it learns all of these, that subconscious is like being programmed by our environment, almost like a computer nerd will program a computer. Everything we experience gets internalized in our system, and the stuff we don't like goes into shadow. The stuff we do like, we use. Not only that, but decades and decades of old patterns from our lineage may get passed on to us too. So we're having to deal with that energy of that program from perhaps our great grandfathers or great grandmothers or something. It's all down here in this one body. And shadow integration is about pulling that stuff that we repress out, celebrate it, and use the energy that it took to keep it down to propel us in our mission. So why, to me, why it's important today on Martin Luther King Jr. Day is, I know that I was imprinted very early on to be afraid of Black people. That was my imprint. That was in my environment. It was in my field. And so I unconsciously, unknowingly took that on. And when I would see a Black person, I would be in distrust or fear. So what my job is to reprogram that original program. How do we reprogram those original programs that may not serve us? It is by reprogramming, having experiences that affirm a new way of being for me around Black people.
And probably getting to recall a specific incident, because that generalization needs to be identified and isolated so it can be kind of processed, right?
Yeah.
So that one is not every Black person. It might have been, or something you were afraid of in the environment, but it became all Black people. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I was a little boy, and my father had a store of a retail store in the middle of Harlem, W.T. Grant Company at 125th Street and Broadway. And when I didn't really know that there was a difference between Black people and white people until I got to school, and they pointed that out to me. It's very funny. But you had the opposite situation. And you were from Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia.
But that was my programming. It's not everyone's. Mm-hmm. But I look at the programming now, perhaps that a lot of the abuse that's happening around Black people right now in the world is because of the programming that a lot of whites have around Black folk. And then we have Black Lives Matter, we have the hate groups, the supremacist groups, and then everyone in between. But it's not bad that I had this program, but it's something I want to reprogram. And I've been reprogramming that for 20 years.
When you work with clients,
mm-hmm.
you identify with them what's important to them, and I guess that's how it happens, right? You have a whole program. I don't want to go off on a tangent. You can probably tell me, but when I've been in a group and they say, oh yeah, I was working with Ed. So you work and sometimes as a personal counselor, but you also have sometimes education, a mastery course, right?
Yeah, I have a couple courses going on now around shadow integration, and I see individual clients. I work with couples, help them repair, build better. You know, the culture thinks of shadow work as something really dark, but ultimately, shadow is our initiator into a better way of being. If we know our shadows, you have to know them. But underneath every dark spot, most of our shadow is 99% of it is pure gold. But our egos look at these dark spots and say, oh, I wish I was more handsome, or I wish I was smarter, or I wish I was more extroverted. I wish I made more money, or whatever. I wish I had more love in my life. Something must be wrong with me. I want to turn that something that must be wrong with me into their superpower.
That's a great concept and to see it that way. It's
Yeah.
like I saw a movie recently where a lady had a scar or mark right here, and she taught her kids to realize there are many Shirleys in this town, but there aren't many that have this special mark.
Right. Right. Yeah. What's your special mark there, Jason?
You're asking me my special mark?
Yeah.
My special mark is I don't know. I'm just overflown with this feeling like I want to serve.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's my special mark. I don't seem to, nothing seems to stop me from wanting to help somebody. I don't know why that just like an urge.
Well, it's funny. I was telling somebody I was going to be on the interview with you today, and they said, "You know Jason Schwartz?" And she goes, "Hmm." I said, "He's the guy that always has the camera." Oh, that Jason.
The guy with the camera. And now everybody's got a phone, turned us all into camera people.
I know.
And
I
what
know.
I think is nice also about that, which I don't hear much going on, if you're there and I'm here and we both do video at the same time,
Hmm.
they have time code. That means we could all celebrate in different parts of the world and do video and bring it together in a time code and have something that shows this joint experience. I always found that to be really incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
But so
The
it means
good,
we could
good
shoot a
side.
movie all over the world. We could shoot an event from all these places and have it come together in an integrated movie. I like. Maybe the
Wouldn't it
world is getting so much easier. Things that I keep thinking are hard are only hard compared to the old way. Because I see
be?
kids, they sit on their phone and in 30 seconds they got an edited video with credits and they're shipping
Oh
it
my,
out to the world.
oh my gosh. I don't have that mind. Do you have that mind?
No, no, no. We're the bridge people. That means we were here PC, pre computer,
Yeah.
before that, when people used to have to write things down. Or
Right.
remember when you used to call someone and you either they picked up or you didn't get them? I
Yeah.
called someone on Maui who was a big wheel before there were answering machines. And he
Right.
said, man, you are the most persistent person. Now I would never have had a chance to see him because I'm button number one and then button number two to leave a message, button number three. Our world has shifted so much.
No. I know. I know. I know. But I
As you,
hope I hope that we still have hope for our future. Do you have hope?
I have incredible hope because if I can see it, I figure it can happen. That's what my whole thing is about.
Mhm.
Every day when I think that I've been talking about vision and action and environment for so long and so long, isn't it what we focus on is what we get? I have hope. I have hope because there's me and there's you, and we're still
Mhm.
breathing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
keep trying to think that being the example, oftentimes when I try to tell people how to be, That's not as accepted as,
Right.
letting them be who they are. But maybe they can watch me and go, I like that. I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the way that happens.
Yeah. I
So
watched,
what do you think of the future? You see hope in the future?
um, I'm reminded of the story of Pandora. Remember the story of Pandora and it was Pandora's jar. It wasn't Pandora's box originally, but it was Pandora's jar. And, I won't go into the pre-story, but the story was that the gods put all these things that humanity um, wouldn't like in a jar. And Pandora was forbidden to open the jar. But of course, just like Eve and biting the apple, and why do they make it a woman too, Pandora? But anyway, she opens the jar and out flies all these things like death and pestilence and disease and horrible things around the planet. And she closed the jar real quick. She closed it before hope could get out. So, us rediscovering hope is a really good medicine, Jason. So, I do have hope for our future. And it's tainted with doubt also. Can we really get through this muckety muck of a world, change the environment? Can we do it in time? And feeling hope at the same time. Can I feel both at the same time? Yes. Yes, I can.
Not only can you feel it, but you live it. Isn't it right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oftentimes people say to me, how are you doing? And if I'm doing good and around me there's something challenged, then I might say I'm not doing good because I want to raise that level. To me,
Mhm.
that's where hope will come from, us realizing that we can raise everyone can win.
Mhm. Mhm.
Otherwise, someone goes down while someone goes up. That never worked for me.
Mhm. Yeah, me too. Me
So
too.
you had a list of subjects that we might share, and I really would like to think that you can pull, because there's, when I was looking at the list, I saw there were more than just a couple of things that we could talk about. Gold in the shadow for sure.
Mhm.
The great life teacher whose name is death. I thought that
that
was
that might be too big for us to handle today. But yeah.
that is a big one. That's a beauty. So these are all things. How about, I like even reading them because they release all kinds of stuff like being human. What does that mean? What does
Yeah.
being human mean?
Yeah. It's a good question. I asked my brother that the other day. He goes, and my brother is a strong Trumper. He loves Trump and has always followed the Republican Party line. And he goes, we've lost our humanity. The Republican Party has lost their humanity. So I said to my brother Jim, what does it mean to be human? And he gave the perfect answer. He said, to be of service to others, love our brother as ourselves. So that became the common ground for my brother and I to connect because I'm not a Trumper, never have been. Um, but we found common ground in that what it means to be human is to not just take care of ourselves and our own survival, but how can we be of service to others as well?
Yeah,
So
I'm
that's
there
a huge
too.
part of it. Yeah. But it's
So,
not a automatic just because we are born and have a heart that's beating and a brain that's functioning. I don't make the assumption that I'm human. Humans are the only species that is hell bent in destroying its own species. I don't call that human.
no, it, I always, when I was growing up, was wondering if my situation growing up was like everybody else. But as I've gotten bigger, I realized how blessed I was that I had parents that gave me the room to develop like I did. So many people in the
Mm,
world, when you talk about being human, they follow the leader, which is their parents. And
mhm.
we maybe this, like in this time we're in now with this COVID-19, I hope that people are awakening to each other in a more loving way. I know it's a split going on now, but
Yep. Mhm,
I don't know
mhm.
why the split, except selfishness. What do you think is going on here? I mean, I would think this would be when humanity would say, look, it's time to help everybody. You really got to help.
You know, when I look, I'm a historian too, and when I look in the long run of things, before there's any new renaissance of thinking, like for instance, the Renaissance may not have happened if there wasn't a tragedy before then called the bubonic plague. So death can precede life again. And we might be going through in spiral dynamics, we would call it, we're going into a new meme of being as a planet. Yet that is a difficult change for a lot of people, individual people, to make that jump away from, I'm going to survive no matter what it takes, and it's all about me. And it's a right, wrong, good, bad thinking meme versus moving beyond right, wrong, good, bad to a meme where we're getting along and that, Jason, your well being is just as important to me as mine. So I want to make sure you succeed and have a good well being.
Well,
That's what I mean.
our president might say, our current president,
Yes.
sucker, you're a sucker. You got to
Yeah.
take care of yourself. A
Yeah.
Trumpy thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that's going away. I mean, I don't see that. I've had some great difficulty seeing that others don't care about each other. It's just always been just a mystery to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm crediting the leaders that came before me, my mother and my father, and the whole way I grew up. I'm so blessed because I never had that hate thing going on or
Yeah.
selfishness to the point of exclusion, hoping that the world could save itself because I'm going this way. I met Kempo Kartha Rinpoche up in upper state New York there at the I would say crematorium. It's where the Tibetan Buddhists have a retreat and also where they bury some people.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand it at the time when he called me a bodhisattva. And some people said, I don't want to be a bodhisattva. That means that you're going to be here till the end. You care enough that you're going to stay here and let everybody else go first. And you're going to make sure everybody gets on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
But that just feels right to me.
Nice.
How can it be unless we all? I would hope that everyone would embrace that idea. Then there's no question we're going to win or
Yep.
whatever we're going to do it. We're doing it together.
So in my world, I look at that as a, a program from your subconscious in the first 7 years. That you're now in your 60s.
In April, I'm 70. Yeah.
Oh, you're my elder by 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm glad I didn't say you're a man well into your 70s. That would have been
I'm
insulting.
glad you didn't say that. But I
Maybe
wouldn't mind being well in my 70s. Yeah.
you will be well in your 70s. But where was I going? But you had the programming early on that got you to be who you are today. You haven't had to do a lot of reprogramming of your programming because you had a really good program to begin with.
Very blessed.
You're very blessed. I'm so happy for you.
I remember, I mean, I have video that at the time, I don't think there was video at a birthday party, and we were the only white people. There was everyone in the store, and the whole party was everyone was black. And I
Mhm.
never really thought anything about it until I was in high school, and there were only two black people, and one was the daughter of a famous singer. And I didn't really sense that black and white thing. And I remember we drove through Harlem from my senior year, and I took pictures of all that was going, the drug selling, all that was going on, and in a convertible. And people wondered, what? How do you? I felt no fear. I never felt any kind of thing.
Mhm.
And yet I'm watching the world now, like you say, someone walking in the park, a jogger, and thinks that someone is going to attack her and they call the police. And I like,
Mhm.
that's so, it's crazy to me. But
Mhm.
like you said, that's the programming that you grew up with. So the first 7 years are really critical, are they?
They're immensely critical. I look at those first 7 years as if it is the computer hard drive that's been programmed a certain way. And therefore, that program runs as part of the computer operating system in everybody's psyche. But we don't know we're operating from a program until you really look into the program. Like the Matrix, you take the red pill or the blue pill. Red pill, you're going to see the truth as it is. Blue pill, you're going to stay in denial. And most people want to take the blue pill, stay in denial. Of course, it's comfortable, it's nice. If I take the red pill, I might have to do something about what I see.
So that's a question. Are we going? And that's your question. You had hope, but you wonder. I try to not focus on that wonder because it's like we know the sea level is rising and that the things at the ocean are going to be underwater here in 50 years. So why are we still building? Why are we still selling and not? We wait till the last say, oh no, 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 that's not us. We're gonna be okay here. Or like we're in New Orleans, we're gonna build all these
Mhm.
levees to keep out the water until the water can't be kept out, and then we
Uh-huh.
have Lake New Orleans,
Right, right, right.
or Maui. You know, you go down Kihei Road when it rains, and you wonder, my God, are we? How did they figure out not to have this road here?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now we're going to have a hotel. How come they don't have boat ramps so that we can drive into the hotel? Plan ahead.
yeah. Well, you've seen a lot of changes here on Maui in your years.
I have. I remember standing in Kihei at what is now Life's Beach and Foodland Center, and there was a Paradise Market, which was like an open air market, and you walk across the street to the sandy beach area,
Hmm.
and there were like a few lights around. Getting to McKenna was up and down over a big hill.
Hmm.
Now you have to pass the lands of condo.
Yep. Hmm.
It has changed so much.
So, what
On
do
the
you think?
website, I just want to make sure if you go to the website, Maui Arts and Music, and look at the video, you can see videos of people you know and places here on Maui for the last 30 years. That's when the Jason that the camera has now, it's like, wow, really something.
So,
We've changed.
what do you think the shadow is in the world, or specifically America right now? And I want to get away from the political thing of personalities.
Yeah.
But if there was an energy, I call shadow just simply energy to take the mystique out of it. It's an energy. What is the shadow happening in our country now? If you could feel into it with your body, what do you see? What do you feel?
What I feel, and I don't mean myself really, but fear. Fear that our claims of being first and biggest and best isn't so. And
Right.
we're
Right.
doing everything we can to try to, uh, or as a country, at least we've been in the last 4 years, shore up so that we are going to bring it back and we're going to be pushing ourselves to the top at the detriment and hurting everyone else. It's like the whole world decides that they're going to be thinking finally about the planet and America withdraws. That's fear, I guess. Well,
Yeah.
we're not going to be able to produce enough and and make enough so we stay wealthy and stay first. We're not going to go on an equal plane and all work together. We may not come out at the top of the heap here. We got to, that's what I think it is. What do you think is going on here in America?
Well, I think there is a underneath it all the shadows seem to come into one pile, but I think there's frequencies of different ones. You know, I look at the fear, but I also look at the greed. I'm going to get me more of what I think I need, even if I don't need it. I'm going to take rather than give. It's this mentality of I'm afraid of my own survival, so I'm going to take more.
Is
I'm
that
going to,
all? I mean, that's all across America. The American way, is that what that is?
yeah, I think it's global too. Everyone's worried about their survival. What would happen if we worried about our neighbor's survival as much as our own?
Yeah. And that feels so natural to me. But like you say, I had a very blessed upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't perfect, I can tell you from personal experience. But it gave me a sense of hope right from the beginning. I always felt encouraged
Mm-hmm.
and encouraged to help someone else. I hear stories that are the opposite from so many people, but I'm blessed.
There is a true hero living on Maui. I mean, there's lots of heroes, but there's one that comes to my mind. And he and his wife, um, 60 years ago or so, moved to Alaska, and he became a working for the Park Service. And he and his wife lived out in the wilderness, away from all white people. The nearest village was a Inuit tribe, who eventually adopted him, and he began to adopt their way of life. And their way of life was one just like we're talking about. If one is hungry, we all are hungry. If one is fed, we are all are fed. Saw themselves as one unit of caring for each other, not just in food, but in every way of caring and supporting each other. Everyone's well being was so important to the whole tribe. Now, imagine if that was a global kind of, or even a whole Maui thing. My God.
You're reading my mail because, when I look at your list for taking an I and turning it into a we, that's why I think the we. I just,
Mm-hmm.
what would happen? That
Mm-hmm.
is the big question. What will happen if we wake up to that fact that we're all part of this matrix and it
Mm-hmm.
all works together? And it works. It
It does.
really works together. Otherwise, that's not together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the young people seem to have gotten the message, the very young ones, and then they grow up to a point where they're being given the same kind of pale options. So the work that you do and the trying to wake people up to that sensitivity is so valuable and important.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find young people finding you? I imagine through Mankind, people see and get to share with you. Do you have a lot of young people in your clients?
Well, younger, because I'm 69. So most of my clients are younger. Um, but I really love mentoring younger, especially younger men, and helping them find their own true self, their own way of being. I was working with a man this morning who just was not making it financially, how to help him find a way that he can find abundance, or how to be a husband to a partner. I love mentoring couples and how to go to a deeper, more profound, transcendent relationship. So they're the things that excite me. I think at our age, Jason, our job is to move into our eldership, which means also mentoring. Um, you and I are the ripest fruit on the tree right now. We'll never be riper than we are on this day. We're not overly ripe. We're not getting rotten. but we are ripe fruit. And I want others to be able to eat this fruit and take in the nutrition and take in the mentoring that we have to offer.
So what programs are you doing now? I mean, I'm be going all over the map. I know you had a list. Would you like to go into anything that you're doing now or would like to be sharing with our audience for their consumption?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest, most passionate thing I have right now, and I think about and do the practices every day, it's shadow integration of taking and looking at the stuff that we denied and repressed from our original programming and turning that into a superpower. That's that's really exciting to me. Um, I love growing love. So planting all those seeds out there of compassion is really important to me, while not denying the dark stuff. I love my arrogance. I love my anger. And usually they would have gotten thrown into the basement where I didn't want to look at them. But no, I love the energies. I don't love being arrogant to people, but I love the energy that's underneath my arrogance. The other
And
thing I
that's a very important and powerful thing you said. You can separate you from that arrogance and
yeah,
identify what in it is good and what
yeah.
it is you don't do good. Mhm.
Years ago, a guy I used to run workshops with on the East Coast out of Philly, and he said to me, my buddy said to me, and I truly love him for this. He goes, I don't know if I want to do workshops with you anymore. I said, why? He goes, you are such a nice guy. You don't have a clue about your other side except you're nice. You keep nicing everybody around you. In that way, you're a con with your nice guy. So, all right, I want to go do some shadow work. So I went back to my office, which is a two-story barn, and I had a really big place. And I decided I'm going to do some shadow work. And I wanted to confront and get to know my not so nice guy. So I began to work it and journal it. And I invited the nice guy to talk to me. And this was a shadow part that I'm asking to come out and, all right, teach me, show me. It was unbelievably vile. It wanted to tear my limbs off and beat me with them. It was so sick of my nice guy because it was so inauthentic. So I let my not so nice guy take over my body. And I was throwing furniture around. I was picking up huge pieces of furniture the size of love seats and throwing them. I was screaming and tearing and cussing and doing all this thing, letting this dark side of me out. And at the end, I was exhausted, but I had so much energy in my body. And I integrated the not so nice guy with the nice guy and took all that energy to propel me in my mission. No, I don't advocate at all being a not so nice guy out in public or to people I love, but integrating that energy was one of the most important things I've ever done in my life.
And is there such a thing as what helped you lock it in? Do you find that, repetition, repetition, repetition,
Very good. Yep. Repetition.
right?
Repetition reprograms the original program. Repetition over and over again.
So, how did you find your way out here to these Hawaiian Islands?
Oh, good question. Well, I made my way from Philly to Colorado and was there for 13 years and did a lot of work there and MKP work and all kinds of stuff. And then a teacher on the Big Island called and said, I want you to come live here for a year. And then I want to travel the world with you and teach, what you're teaching and we combine her teachers. So I came out, and it turned out she wasn't a very nice person, and she was full of shadow herself. And I knew as soon as I landed that my body said, this is not where I belong. And this is after I sold everything I had, got rid of all my belongings for about 4 boxes, and had shipped here in a car. And and at that moment, in a moment, I left her place on the Big Island and didn't have a place to go. I didn't know where I was going to go. I knew one person. I called that one person who was an MKP leader that I had initiated years ago. And he says, I got you. Come on. We got you. They found me a place to stay. And then I began to build community around me. So this teacher was the come along. She got me here. And then from here, I've had a chance to just play and explore and teach and learn and get involved in Maui.
Yeah, you're definitely involved here. And like I say, everywhere I look, there's Ed Fell. And you're very, very warmly accepted by all kinds of people. It's always nice to see.
Yeah, very
I
kind.
didn't want to, well, some people, my mother used to say, don't beat around the bush. She said it with a little more spice. Don't beat around the bush, burn the bush.
Oh,
What would God do? God would burn the bush.
God would burn the bush. Would
Why
go
beat
for it.
around the bush? Doesn't try life with burning the bush. You don't have to do it nasty. You can do it nice. But truth is so much better.
Oh, very good, Jason.
So that was a great early lesson.
Yeah.
No, I didn't do any of those bad things. That wasn't me.
Tell me you've never done a bad, nasty thing in your life.
No, only one. And I remember it well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I look at our time right now and I think just in general, like never mind our time here on radio and TV. I'm thinking about we are now at a time when we really have choices. The whole world is at that crossroads. It couldn't be more of a crossroad time. In 2 days, we got a new president, and we're all as a world trying to get over a pandemic, and our economy's been thrown into shambles in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do? What Just be ourselves and be positive, right? All we can do is lead by example. You can't force feed love, can you?
No. Let's let hope come out of Pandora's jar, for one thing. Let's spread some seeds of hope, but with truth, of seeing things as real, of confronting the shadows that exist in our culture, in ourselves. One of my teachers told me a long time, and one of the subjects that I love to work with couples with and individuals with is around sexuality and pleasure. One of my teachers, I don't know, 30 years ago said to me, there's no end to how much love the body can experience. There's no end to the amount of sexual pleasure you can have. There's no end to how much pleasure that your body can receive. So if we realize that elevator can keep going up infinitely, there's no end. But I'm going to take truth with me. I'm going to take my darkest shadows with me, my arrogance and my anger and my whatever. I got an angry side like you wouldn't believe, Jason, but I love it. I'm going to take it with me up the elevator, not deny it. That's spiritual bypassing, when I deny the dark stuff.
Well, I'm
Make
sure
sense?
that people are going to want to be in touch with you. Is there an easy way for people to? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Oh, um, edfell.com is my website. edfell3@gmail.com is my email.
Easy.
And can I get my phone number?
Oh, yeah, sure. See,
Eight
that's
oh,
the benefit. We have no restrictions unless they throw us. I don't know why they would throw us off, but no, you can give your phone number, please.
808 419 8200.
That's a nice number, 419-8200.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's important that you would like to share? I know I've been sort of jumping all over the map. Anything that you would feel hard pressed that you want to share with an audience?
I think the most, if I could leave with this one thing, it's about um, radically accepting all of us, all of me, all the parts of me, the dark, the light, the amazing beauty I am, and the darkness that I am, and radically accepting them all as if they were members of my family. If I, if in my house, I love to think of myself, and my house is all set up the way I want, the sofa, the chairs, the paintings, and all that, and they're all the parts of me that I like in my house. My sofa I like about me, my compassion I like about me, my kindness I like to, but everything that is not like me, I keep outside my house. And if I'm not aware of it outside my house, it's creating all kinds of graffiti on the walls. It's doing all kinds of havoc out there. I want to bring the outside, the stuff that I've denied, into my house, sit down with a cup of coffee, and get to know these dark parts where they can become allies rather than outside creating havoc. And when I do that, what gets born in me is more kindness, more compassion, more love, more pleasure, more joy. When I
Not
help,
only for someone else, but important for yourself.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
But you've been wonderful to talk to. I didn't know where we'd be going today. I just knew that I wanted the world to get to meet Ed Fell. You know, like these shows, you probably will look through some of my shows and see, oh, there's a Mankind brother. There's another one. There's another
Yeah,
one.
yeah. My friend David has been on. I know, and this has been a long time coming. Before I went traveling for a year on the mainland just to be of service, and I know you contacted me before I went, and we were going to do a radio thing, and that never happened. So I'm grateful that the timing is right now. Yeah.
And not only that, this is an open door. So if there's anything that you ever want to be sharing and you want a forum and think that I can be of service, I'm here to you.
All right. So I will. I have a bunch of other topics. I'd like to talk about eldership with you and mentoring. I'd like to talk about death and how that informs life. I'd like to talk about sexuality and human relationships. So,
And at our site, we're going to put your web address up so
okay.
that people will, have a doorway in to talk to you additionally. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today, Ed. I hope that you
Bless you, my
enjoyed it.
friend. You are a mensch. You are the definition of mensch. I looked it up in the dictionary and there's your picture.
Oh no!
You're a
For those of you
mensch.
that don't, could just let's define mensch for this mixed audience.
A mensch is someone who's fully human.
Oh, fully human, huh?
You didn't know that, did you?
No.
Yeah, you are a human among humans.
Well,
There you go.
everyone, you are so fortunate to be here to have seen Ed Fell, and I want you to get up close and personal and get to know a great man.
Big love to you, brother.
Thank you, everyone here for joining us. Thank you, Ed. It's really been a pleasure. We
Yeah,
will
bless
see you
you.
again.
Bye bye.
Aloha.